This is the Mountaineer Moment, your source for all things West Virginia football and basketball. From pregame to postgame coverage and breaking news, we've got you covered. Let's go. This is another episode of Mountaineer Moment. My name is Troy. I'm your host, and welcome in. If this is your first time, this is a brand new podcast covering West Virginia football and basketball, and excited to do it right now at the start of the 2025 college football season. This is part of what each week is going to look like. This is an episode on over and unders for the week one matchup with Robert Morris as the Mountaineers get set to kick things off in the new era under former head coach Rich Rodriguez, who is back. And I don't know about you, but it's still saying that is taking some getting used to, and it's going to take some getting used to seeing him on the sideline coaching these Mountaineers here in just a few days. But I'm ready for it. Super excited, super pumped for the season, and I kind of just thought, you know what? I've got experience podcasting. I got experience a little bit covering the Mountaineers, writing articles over on hailwv.com as a contributor on Fansided, and got a decent little setup with a decent little microphone here, and so here we are. Whether you're watching on YouTube, Spotify, listening on Apple Podcasts, wherever you are, thank you for being a part of it. Please subscribe, because again, this isn't going to be a couple episode thing and then I'm done. I'm going to keep on keeping on at this thing. This is the third episode, and one dedicated to this week one matchup with Robert Morris. Going to be a fun one today. Just hitting on three different over-unders for this matchup in particular as it pertains to the Mountaineers. And so without any more explanation, here we go. Okay, so the first over or under, little fun one here to keep an eye on and to be thinking of as we approach kickoff is how many quarterbacks will take a snap against Robert Morris. And I think on last episode I even said I was going to set the line at 2.5, but I'm going to have a little more fun and set it above that, because here we go. You know, against an FCS opponent in normal season, you set this line at 1.5, it's going to be over. You set this one in particular for the Mountaineers at 2.5. Some people will say under, but I would still say over. You set this line at 3.5 quarterbacks to take a snap against Robert Morris. That's, to me, where it gets interesting, because all the talk, if we believe Rich Rod, and I do, I mean, obviously some of it's coach speak and not wanting to, give away too much to opponents regarding this quarterback situation, but you've got Nico Markiel, you've got Jalen Henderson, you've got Max Brown, you've got these two freshmen, Scotty Fox and Khalil Wilkins, and Rich says he has 5 guys that can make every throw. All right, then. And he said that's new, and that's something in his career he's never had. And, here you have your one FCS opponent that's on the schedule in week one. He hasn't announced who the starting quarterback's going to be. But if you think through it, and I actually wrote an article on this topic with these over-unders, but if you think through it, you've got Nico. He's going to see the field. You've got Jalen Henderson. Looks like he's going to see the field. You would think maybe the next one would be Max Brown. Does he see the field? And again, if this is really an open competition, even still, and Rich has even mentioned a few times, like you see guys at what they can do when they're live, and here's an opportunity to go against another team and be live. And maybe Rich is wondering what he's got with all these guys, and so I think that's why I would say take the over. Like, let's have fun. Let's take the over 3.5. That would mean Nico, Jalen, Max Brown, and then one, if not both of those freshmen are going to see a little bit of time. We'll see how it shakes out. I mean, you would think, with it being Robert Morris, all due respect to them as a program and what they got going on, but Mountaineers should take care of business. And so they should have an opportunity for lots of guys to see the field. And Rich says it over and over and over again. He wants to break a record for how many guys are going to see the field this season. And here's an opportunity to do just that. So how many quarterbacks are going to take the field? I don't know about you, but I'm going to have fun and say it's going to be over 3.5 for the Mountaineers in week one. All right, sticking on the offensive side of the ball for all of these, actually, but Number 2 is how many West Virginia players will catch at least one pass in week 1? So running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, how many will catch at least one ball against Robert Morris? And I'm setting that one at 9.5. And I did just a little research for that number, thinking through it. Now, again, different coaching staff, different players on the field. But in previous seasons, so West Virginia played Duquesne 2 years ago in 2023 for their FCS opponent. Last year they played against Albany. And against Albany, West Virginia had 10 players catch a pass. 10 players. There are only 20 pass attempts completed, and 10 Mountaineers caught a ball in that game. And then in Duquesne, when the game with the storm and delays, and then Hudson Clement catches 3 touchdowns, gets a scholarship in the locker room after the game. He was the story in that one. But there were 17 completions in that one, and 8 different Mountaineers caught a ball in that game. So I'm going 9.5 here, and I would take the over. If this was an actual thing, I would take the over on that because, again, the wide receiver room is a room that we're talking about lots of guys rotating in and out. I mean, it's going to be a frenzy of players getting reps, especially in week 1. But, you think of the likes of who they have. Cam Vaughn coming over from Jack State. You got Christian Hamilton coming over from North Carolina. You got Jaden Bray, who's hopefully past his injury-riddled time as a Mountaineer. You got Jeffrey Weimer, who's now eligible to play. We'll see if he sees action, out of Idaho State. We talked on the last episode about this wide receiver room. If you want to go back and check episode 2 for more in-depth analysis of these guys and what they bring to the table. But Weimer caught 100 passes and over 1,200 yards last season at Idaho State. That's really, really impressive anywhere. You got Preston Fox returning for yet another season. You got Justin Smith-Brown out of South Carolina State. You got Cyrus Traw out of Youngstown State. You got Rodney Gallagher back. You got Oron Singleton back. You got Jared Bowie here, or Oron Singleton transferring in from Eastern Michigan, a guy who caught a lot of passes last year. You got Jared Bowie from Jack State coming in, hometown guy from Martinsburg. And that's just the receivers. Jahiem White's good for a catch or 2 or 3 or 5, right? And, the tight ends have been discussed a little bit this year with Grayson Barnes and Jacob Barrick. And so you have some guys here, some names with some experience. Again, episode 2, more in-depth look at these wide receivers, but got some guys who've caught some passes before. And if, again, coming out of camp and hearing all these press conferences from Rich Rod and all this, I mean, there's going to be guys getting an opportunity in that wide receiver room. A lot of guys are going to play. How many passes are they going to catch in week 1? Well, that's the question. But 9.5, I would take the over. I think we're going to spread the ball around quite a bit in week 1 against Duquesne, as is common against Robert Morris, as is common with an FCS opponent. But I like to think you could get the over here, getting your backs and receivers and tight ends involved and getting them in space and seeing what they can do. I think that there's going to be a lot that we can learn coming out of week 1, heading into Ohio, and then the backyard brawl for weeks 2 and 3. But keep an eye on these receivers, see how many times each one's on the field. I think we're in for a treat to see just how many guys are going to play and are playable. Because West Virginia fans and fans of any college, you see some guys that maybe shouldn't be on the field, but I think this wide receiver room has a lot of guys that can and will and should be seeing time on the field. All right, the aforementioned Jahiem White, he's involved in our third over-under for week 1. Over-under total carries for Jahiem White against Robert Morris, setting the number at 14.5. Now, we know the story with Jahiem. Incredible freshman season, really solid, great second year as a sophomore, as a Mountaineer. Now entering year 3, he is the undisputed guy in the Mountaineer backfield. C.J. Donaldson is no longer here. He has moved on to Ohio State. And there's been some situations going on in the Mountaineer running back room with Jalen Knighton now academically ineligible. Ty Edwards was ineligible and when goes to court. Now he is eligible, but he hasn't been practicing with the team. Is he in game shape? You got Dior Hubbard, freshman. It's a running back room that is going to rely heavily on Jahiem White, but just how heavily are we going to be relying on Jahiem White all throughout the season? Touched on that in episode 2. But here in episode 3, over under 14.5 carries for Jahiem White. My heart wants to say over because I want to see Jahiem as many times as I can get the ball and do something special with it. But my head is thinking under for a couple of reasons I just touched on. You got some guys, now depending on Dior Hubbard and Ty Edwards and these guys' availability. You got Andre Devine who we just picked up a couple weeks ago, and some others. But depending on their availability, you don't want to run Jahiem into the ground against Robert Morris, right? Especially out of necessity. Like, hopefully it's a game that we have a good lead in and Jahiem can get a break because we're going to need him all season long. We're going to need Jahiem White. So I like the under here, under 14.5. I think Jaheim's still going to get 10, 11, 12 carries and do something special with it. Love to see him break one in week 1. I think those other guys are going to get touches. Again, quarterbacks are going to get involved in the run game as well, and it's going to be interesting to see. But that's over-unders for week 1's matchup. The Mountaineers' new era under Rich Rodriguez getting set to start in just a matter of days. Again, if you're listening on YouTube, watching on YouTube or Apple Podcast, Spotify, be sure to subscribe so you can know when we got some more content dropping. Still up to come before we even reach game day. There will be an extensive game preview episode where we go into a little more deep dive on the West Virginia offense and defense, as well as take a look at Robert Morris and some things to watch out for with them in this week 1 game. And so be sure to listen here before the game, and then after the game we'll have a recap episode and get ready for week 2 against Ohio. So again, this is Mountaineer Moment. My name's Troy, and if you're joining this early into it, man, I don't know how you found it, but thank you. I look forward to, if you have want to send an email, mountaineermoment@gmail.com. Any suggestions or any topics you want me to discuss in particular to a specific game or matchup or player you want me to deep dive on, whatever it is, I'd be happy to do it. And again, just thrilled to be starting this new journey personally. Again, years of experience in the podcasting world, and but never with the Mountaineers. And I'm a lifelong Mountaineer fan, born in Morgantown, living up on Long Island right now. But country roads take me home. That's still home, and this is still my team, West Virginia football and basketball. Love it till the day I die. So. Super excited to start this new journey, a new era for Mountaineer football, a new era for myself personally, with this, and just super excited to do it. And again, I can assure you that there will be content coming every week throughout this football season. If you're here for Mountaineer football, and then basketball season, we'll figure that out as well when it gets here. But again, make sure you subscribe and stay on the lookout for that preview episode dropping this week of Robert Morris and the Mountaineers doing battle week 1, August 30th, 2 o'clock from Milan Puskar Field, and super excited. So let's go Mountaineers, and we'll see you next time.